Nike. The name alone is synonymous with innovation, performance, and success. But in the beginning, it was nothing more than a small idea, one that would eventually reshape the world of sports, culture, and business. The journey began not with a grand plan but with a passion to do things better, to create something that had never been seen before. Bill Bowerman, a coach at the University of Oregon, and Phil Knight, his former athlete, set out to solve a problem. Running shoes just weren't good enough. In 1964, the two founded Blue Ribbon Sports, initially working as a distributor for Onitsuka Tiger, a Japanese shoe brand. Their vision was simple: bring better, performance-driven footwear to American athletes. But it didn't take long for Bowerman's obsession with improving athletic gear to lead him to an even bigger idea. While working with the shoes they imported, Bowerman began tinkering with designs, looking for a way to create a better sole. That's when he came up with the now famous waffle pattern, a design that would soon change the industry. But it wasn't just the technology that set Nike apart. It was the vision. In 1971, when the partnership with Onitsuka began to falter, Knight and Bowerman made the bold decision to strike out on their own and start producing their own shoes. They needed a brand, something that would stand out. After several iterations, they finally landed on the name Nike, named after the Greek goddess of victory. The swoosh, designed by a graphic design student named Carolyn Davidson for just $35, would become one of the most recognizable logos in the world. Nike's first breakthrough came in 1972 with the release of the Nike Cortez. The shoe wasn't just functional, it was stylish, sleek, and designed with athletes in mind. It quickly became popular, setting the stage for Nike's future success. But it wasn't just about making good shoes, it was about building a brand. Knight understood that Nike had to be more than just a product, it had to be a symbol of something greater. By the mid-1970s, Nike had established itself as a serious competitor in the running shoe market, but it wasn't enough. Nike's next big move was to secure endorsements from top athletes. In 1972, they signed their first big contract with distance runner Steve Prefontaine, who would go on to become the face of the brand. His fierce determination and unorthodox style made him the perfect representative for a company that was all about challenging the status quo. Nike's focus on innovation continued, with Bowerman and his team relentlessly pushing the boundaries of what a running shoe could be. In 1979, Nike revolutionized the shoe industry again with the introduction of the air cushioning system. It was an innovation that changed not just the design of shoes, but the way athletes would perform. The Nike Air series became an instant hit, and Nike's influence in the running world grew. But Nike wasn't just a running brand anymore. By the 1980s, it was clear that the company's ambition extended far beyond track and field. Nike began to expand into other sports, starting with basketball. Enter Michael Jordan. In 1984, Nike signed a young, up-and-coming basketball player named Michael Jordan to an endorsement deal that would ultimately change the face of sports marketing. The Air Jordan 1 was released in 1985, and it wasn't just a basketball shoe, it was a cultural phenomenon. The release of the Air Jordan marked a turning point for Nike. What had once been a small, running-focused brand was now the king of sports footwear. The endorsement of Jordan turned the shoe into something more than just athletic gear. It became a symbol of success, style, and status. Nike's strategy wasn't just to make great shoes, it was to make shoes that people wanted to wear, whether they were athletes or not. But Nike's genius was never just in its products. It was in its marketing. The company understood that branding was about more than just selling a product, it was about telling a story. And the story Nike told was one of greatness, determination, and breaking through boundaries. From the "Just Do It" slogan in 1988 to the powerful imagery of athletes overcoming adversity, Nike made its products about more than just shoes. They were about empowerment, about pushing yourself beyond your limits, about achieving greatness. As the 1990s dawned, Nike's dominance in the footwear industry was undeniable, but the company wasn't content to rest on its laurels. Nike expanded its empire, acquiring companies like Converse and launching the Nike Training division, moving into the world of fitness and cross-training. Nike became not just a brand for athletes, but a brand for everyone who wanted to push themselves harder, faster, and further. The late 90s and early 2000s saw Nike continue its evolution. The brand moved from just endorsing athletes to becoming a global force in lifestyle and fashion. Collaborations with top designers and celebrities brought Nike's signature style to the mainstream, and shoes like the Nike Air Max and the Nike Dunk became icons of street culture. Meanwhile, Nike continued its relentless pursuit of innovation, releasing new technologies like Flyknit, which revolutionized the way sneakers were constructed. By the mid-2000s, Nike was not just a leader in sports, but a brand that defined pop culture. The swoosh wasn't just on the feet of athletes, it was on the streets, in music videos, in fashion shows, and on the feet of the world's biggest stars. Nike was everywhere. But success didn't come without challenges. As the company grew, so did its responsibilities. Nike faced criticism over labor practices, especially in overseas factories, and had to navigate the complexities of global manufacturing and ethical considerations. In response, Nike invested in improving its corporate responsibility practices, aiming to make its production processes more sustainable and fair. By the 2010s, Nike had evolved into a cultural powerhouse. The release of the self-lacing Air Mag in 2016, inspired by Back to the Future Part 2, was a perfect example of how Nike continued to push the boundaries of innovation. The company had become more than just a footwear manufacturer. It was a global symbol of innovation, performance, and style. Nike's success wasn't just about making great products, it was about creating a lifestyle, a culture. From its iconic advertising campaigns featuring athletes like Serena Williams, LeBron James, and Colin Kaepernick, to its partnerships with designers and influencers, Nike became a brand that stood for something bigger than just shoes. It became a platform for self-expression, for individual empowerment, and for change. Today, Nike stands as one of the most valuable brands in the world, with a market cap exceeding $50 billion. The company has expanded into apparel, fitness equipment, and even digital technology, all while maintaining its core identity as a brand that pushes the limits of possibility. And through it all, Nike has remained true to its roots, creating products that help athletes achieve greatness, while inspiring millions around the world to push themselves to be better, faster, and stronger. Nike's journey from a small startup to a global giant is a testament to the power of innovation, marketing, and the relentless pursuit of excellence. It's a story about challenging the status quo, about believing in something bigger than yourself, and about using sport as a platform to change the world. Nike didn't just make sneakers, they made a culture. They didn't just sell shoes, they created an empire. And as long as athletes continue to push the boundaries of what's possible, Nike will continue to be there, helping them reach new heights, one step at a time. Knight and Borman made the bold decision to strike out on their own and start producing their own shoes. They needed a brand, something that would stand out. After several iterations, they finally landed on the name Nike, named after the Greek goddess of victory. The swoosh, designed by a graphic design student named Carolyn Davidson for just $35, would become one of the most recognizable logos in the world. But Nike wasn't just about the shoes, it was about crafting a story and narrative of excellence and perseverance. In 1972, Nike's first true product, the Nike Cortez, was released. It wasn't just a shoe, it was a statement. Designed for runners, but loved by everyone, the Cortez became a symbol of Nike's commitment to performance and style. It didn't take long for athletes and everyday people alike to fall in love with the shoe. This was more than just a product, it was a beginning. A beginning that would spark a revolution in sports apparel, fashion, and culture. But even with the success of the Cortez, the road ahead wasn't smooth. Nike's early years were defined by struggle. The company was operating on a shoestring budget, and the competition was fierce. Other shoe brands, Adidas and Puma, in particular, had established themselves as leaders in the sports footwear market. To compete, Nike needed something special, something groundbreaking. They weren't just selling shoes, they were selling a philosophy, a way of thinking. They needed to convince the world that Nike wasn't just a choice, it was the choice. That shift began in 1977, when Nike made a strategic decision that would shape the future of the brand. They brought in new talent. This included a young marketing executive named Rob Strasser, who understood that the power of advertising could elevate a brand into something more than just a product. Nike wasn't just about selling shoes, it was about creating an identity, a lifestyle that transcended athletics. The turning point came in 1984 when Nike signed a 21-year-old basketball player named Michael Jordan. At the time, Jordan wasn't yet the global icon he would later become. But Nike saw something that no one else did: a raw, electrifying talent, someone who could become the face of the brand. The Air Jordan 1, released in 1985, was a gamble, but it was a gamble that paid off in a way that no one could have predicted. The first Air Jordan wasn't just a basketball shoe, it was a cultural movement. Nike took a bold step by designing a sneaker specifically for Jordan, a bold, rebellious player who refused to follow the status quo. The Air Jordan wasn't just a product, it was a piece of history in the making. Nike's partnership with Jordan proved that their vision wasn't just about making athletes better, it was about turning athletes into legends, icons in their own right. And the world responded.